We've spent 1,000 hours testing AI coding tools. So with that in mind, we've decided to rank Cursor, V0, Bolt.new, Windsurf, and put them all on a tier list with a full breakdown and conclusion for each one.
So, in case you've been living under a rock and haven't heard about Cursor, it is the most popular AI coding tool right now on the market. It's what most people are using when they talk about AI coding. And what you can do with Cursor is basically upload your repo or your folder that you're working on. And then you can connect Cursor to any of the frontier models. So, whether you want to use a model from OpenAI, from Anthropic, Cursor also offers their own model. And what you can do is basically ask Cursor to make changes to your application. So if you have a website and the background is black, you can say, hey, Cursor, please make the background white. You press a button and Cursor will make the background white for you. So obviously this is a really great tool for productivity. And what makes Cursor special, in my opinion, is the fact that you can actually index all of your documents. So what's going to happen is Cursor is going to create embeddings of your code. And then when you do things like search or generation, it's going to use those embeddings to create whatever the generation you're looking for is. And that's going to lead to a pretty good understanding of your code, even though you didn't really have to do anything. So when I look at Cursor, I really think that it's a very powerful tool. I use it a lot for my coding and also how to learn how to code. So often what I'll do with Cursor is I'll go in there and I'll say, build me this thing that I don't know how to build. And then when Cursor's built it, I'll then try to build it from scratch without using Cursor. So I found that that's been a pretty solid technique for learning, because what you find when you do that is there are a lot of gaps in Cursor's knowledge. So you'll be like, okay, I wanted the background white, but the way that you went about it isn't the best way to do it. And you can kind of learn that by using Cursor. In terms of pricing, they have 3 different tiers. So there's a free tier where you can use it for a 2-week trial, basically. And you can use it for free forever, but you will inevitably get slowed down. But that free tier does come with a 2-week trial of the pro tier, which costs $20 a month. And that's the tier that most people are going to be on. So you can basically use it for unlimited completions and unlimited slow requests. But you will get put in a queue if you're trying to make requests to the more popular models, if you've made too many requests. And then finally, there's the business tier, which is $40 a month. And that's where you're going to basically have unlimited functionality and access to all of the features. And so to give an example of how, here of how Cursor actually works, I have a website, and can you see this on your screen?
Yeah.
So I'm building a simple website here for actually our podcast, which is called How to AI Agent. And I'm building this using Cursor. So what I can do is I can ask Cursor, change the colors of the site to blue and red. And I've already given it the documents that are relevant to whatever I'm asking it to do. And you'll see here, it's literally telling me, okay, it's going to update the color scheme to blue and red tones. And you can actually already see that it's changing on my website. And it's also going to update that page TSX. So you can see not only the files that are being updated, but if you click inside, you can actually see the diffs. So we can see how it's changing the background colors. And then if I go back to my composer, it'll actually explain what it did. And unfortunately, my connection failed. But you can see here now that this website that used to be black now has a blue and red theme. So if I wanted to do that manually, of course, I would have to go in here and change those colors myself. But the beauty of Cursor is now I don't need to do that. And I can even say, instead of blue and red, come up with your own color scheme based on this. And what I can do is I can actually say best color schemes. And if I have a website, we can actually plug in the website to the Cursor command. So now what Cursor is going to do is it's going to use Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which is what the model that I'm using, but you can see that there's other models available. And all of a sudden, it's actually looking at this website. It's going to do a search. And now it's saying, oh, we're going to use this dark chestnut brown theme because it's going to give it a warm, earthy, sophisticated look that works for tech and education. So this is like a bit of a demo of what you can build with Cursor and what the power of Cursor might be.
Really interesting. I did not know you could upload websites to it. That is a really interesting feature.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of the killer features, if you will, if you ask me, because what you can do now is basically have your website, and then you can plug in whatever information that you need and just let Cursor do all the work, right?
Interesting. Yeah, I guess as final thoughts, I guess I would put this as a pro for Cursor is if you've already got a bit of development knowledge, I'd say this is a pro for you. But I think if you're starting off, it definitely might be a little bit more daunting.
Yeah. In terms of ratings, I'm gonna be giving Cursor a 1 out of 5. And why am I giving it a 1 out of 5? Because even though it's a really good AI coding tool, the problem with Cursor is unless you use it in the right way, what you're going to end up with is code that you don't understand and also code that might have issues that are past your comprehension. So even though I believe that Cursor is a really solid AI tool, I give it a 1 out of 5 because I don't think that it does the best job of actually teaching you how to build things once you run into an issue that Cursor can't handle.
My ranking is going to be I'm going to put Cursor in S tier.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't actually maybe A tier, because I do agree with you. I go back and forth and I'm just arguing with Cursor, and if I didn't understand it, I wouldn't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the rankings don't have to be final, but for now, I'm putting Cursor in the D tier.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I'd say I was never really a guy before. Well, I was a software guy, but I wasn't like a coding software guy. I used to use a lot of Make.com. I think Cursor really opened me up to doing coding without doing a lot of the heavy lifting of it.
Yeah, for sure. No, I hear you on that. I think that it's definitely opening up a lot of opportunities that just wouldn't have been there without it, right?
Do you think so? I feel like the UI is really good because it onboards people to what they're used to. So I'm sure a lot of customers that already use VS Code can just use Cursor straight away. But do you think in a way it kind of limits it for the proper new people because it isn't as user friendly as maybe using something more like Bolt, where it seems like or like Make.com, where it is a little bit more user friendly?
Yeah, no, I definitely think that the onboarding and the UI is the biggest reason why Cursor's seen so much popularity. Like, because everyone's already used to coding inside of an IDE. I know that there's some AI coding tools like Aider, which operate in the command line, and people who are comfortable on the command line really like that tool. I think it's more of just whatever you've been doing in the past, people like using tools that kind of emulate that process.
Definitely. I guess going on to the next one, I guess we're going to go to one that's a little bit more user friendly, and I will share my screen. So basically, the next one is called Bolt, and this one seems to be a little bit newer than Cursor. And I think the sort of selling point for it is it's completely full stack. I think Cursor is still full stack in a way, but like this is different from V0, where it's not just a front end. From my understanding, it does. Yeah, like, actually. So what does it do that makes it a full stack? Like, is it connecting the databases?
Yeah, so I think the difference with Bolt versus with Cursor is for the application that I just showed you, I had to come in and create the website, and then I can give the website to Cursor. Whereas if you're using Bolt, it's actually going to create the website for you.
Could Cursor not do that? Because I think Cursor can do that. I said build me a website.
Yes, but it's certainly not what Cursor excels in, because the problem with websites is at some point you're going to have to deal with deploying it. So Cursor can build your website, but it's only going to live on your computer in localhost. Whereas with Bolt, it's going to be really easy to make your website into something people can see on the internet.
Okay, I'm going to try something pretty extreme and see if it works.
Okay. I like extreme.
I guess yeah, maybe not that extreme, but yeah, build me a blog automation tool that makes YouTube shorts and makes them into a blog post. Yeah, so definitely like already it seems a little bit more user friendly. Like, yeah,
Yep.
Maybe we'll go over the pricing where that's working as well. So the pricing is interesting. So they got a free tier was limited to like a set amount of tokens. It looks about 150,000. You got the pro tier at 10 million. Then it goes all the way up to the pro 200, which is billed at $200 a month. It's 120 million tokens. So it seems kind of flexible, but still quite expensive.
Yeah, I mean the costs definitely start adding up as well, right? Because you're paying for Bolt, then you've got to pay for Vercel, you've got to pay for your social media platforms. All of a sudden, you find yourself spending a lot of money through these subscription projects.
Have you used it before?
Yep,
Yeah.
I've used Bolt before.
What do you say the main, I guess, pros and cons are compared to Cursor?
I think the biggest benefit of Bolt is the fact that you were able to just go in there and immediately get started. Whereas with Cursor, you would have had to download it, get your setup going. Whereas here, you can just type whatever you needed in and you see you've got code.
Yeah, but the trouble is, it's not really. Maybe what I've done is I've tried something too complex because it's not really. I don't know how long I'll have to say attempt to fix for it to work. It does seem like code, but maybe I should try something a little bit more simple.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was definitely a tough ask for it, but I wonder if it can just build a to-do list site.
Yeah, build a to-do list site.
It would be cool if it had one shot that though.
Yeah, well, I mean, because actually, to be fair, like, I'm being unreasonable because I don't think I could do that in Cursor. But I feel like
I was gonna say I like the fact that you asked for it to build you a to-do list site, and it's decided that it's gonna make a beautiful and functional to-do list site. That's pretty cool.
But the thing is, yeah, like beautiful from the AI. Like, to be fair, like I don't know. We'll go on to V0 soon, but I've never thought V0 the designs look that good. Okay, this is actually really cool.
Yeah.
I've been distracted, but yeah, like it built it in one prompt.
If you wanted to do something like that in Cursor, of course, it would have taken you many more steps. So I think the beauty of a tool like this is you can just immediately get going and it's built.
That is crazy.
Also, being able to deploy the website in that top right, I think that that's really the killer feature here. Because if you did everything of this in Cursor, you still have to go through the deployment yourself. Whereas here, you can deploy using their framework.
Yeah, I think my trouble is, so like this looks really cool for like a simple task, but I wonder, okay, like how much can I edit this code? Like, for example, if I want to build something, like usually I'll use Camel to build like a multi-agent system, so that'd be the bulk of the backend. I'm guessing I don't have the flexibility to do something like that, or can I add the code, or would I have to deploy it separately? I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so you could go in there and kind of edit it, but
Okay.
I don't think that when you're talking about like using things in the back end, Bolt isn't going to be the best for that. It's more for front end stuff.
And sorry, so I didn't. So is it fully open source?
Apparently, Bolt.new is open source and self hosted.
Cool.
Very cool. Yeah, we love open source.
Okay, cool. I guess as for the tier list, maybe I'm going to be a little bit more. It kind of depends on the person. Like if I'm just trying to have fun and I'm trying to learn how to build web apps, but I've got no interest in going to market, I'll probably go B. But if I'm actually trying to build like a full stack application that I'm going to scale, I'll probably have to go C.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you where I would put it in that B2C range because obviously, if you need a to do list site, it's nice that you can just go there and it'll build it for you in 30 seconds. But once you start going past that very base level, I think using a tool like that is going to become cumbersome.
Definitely. Yeah, because like even with Make.com, I'm always going to talk about Make.com because it's probably the thing I spend the most time on. But it's like it gets to a point with these kind of user-friendly tools where they just can't scale, and it's like I'll come into so many errors, like trying to like make it into something. It's just I might as well learn to code.
Exactly. At some point, you're like, you know what? I just need to learn this because I'm not saving any time using these tools. And then I also think part of it is learning the language of prompting for these tools, right? We all had to kind of learn how to talk to GPT when that came out. Now I think we're going to have to learn how to talk to Cursor because if you use words like, for example, make the hero the size of the viewport, as opposed to saying, when someone comes to the web page, I want to show them a picture. Cursor is going to perform much better with that first prompt because it knows what a viewport is. As opposed to when you say the page, it's like, okay, well, is this on a mobile screen? Is this on a computer? Like, how big do you want it to be? And it's not going to give you the output you necessarily want. And then also that issue you mentioned with the error messages, where sometimes you get in that recursive loop where you're just fighting with Cursor and it just keeps giving you the same 2 or 3 error messages. And that can be really frustrating.
I feel like as a theory for that, I feel like we're going to get a lot more of the same apps, because I think as someone that's trying to build something and they're not familiar with the terms, the easiest thing to do for one of these AI coding tools is to copy and paste another site and say, okay, build it like that. I like that one. But if you don't have the sort of terminology to go, okay, I want a site that, as you said, the hero is slightly here, it's got this kind of effect. You're not going to get that uniqueness. Cool. I guess we can go on to Windsurf.
Windsurf is an IDE that was built by Codium, and it's similar to Cursor in the sense that you'll be able to prompt Windsurf and it'll make changes for you. But the difference between Windsurf and Cursor is that Windsurf is actually an agentic workflow. So we know we love agents because of your work at Camel, and also at Quadrant, we're really into agentic RAG. I thought that this was a really cool example of some of the options that we have, right? And then if we go to capabilities, basically, you'll see that there's Cascade, which is this agentic chat experience. And I'll be showing you what that looks like in a second. But the beauty of this tool, Windsurf, is kind of the downside of what you just mentioned with Bolt. Because it has that agentic framework, what you can do is do much more complicated requests. And the agentic framework is going to break that complicated request into more manageable tasks and then actually execute that for you. So what I found is that Windsurf is really good for doing complicated stuff. In terms of pricing, once again, we do have that free tier. And on the free tier, you're going to get those 50 user prompts and 200 flow action credits. So you can have the free forever, of course, but you're going to be limited in your use. And then there's the pro tier, which is going to be $15 a month. That's where most people are going to end up. It's going to give you most of the features. And then there's the $60 a month Pro Ultimate tier, which is going to be kind of enterprise level, even though there is actually organization pricing as well. So this is probably more of like a power user. And then they do have that different pricing for organizations where you can have up to 50 users on your org. And then if you want more than 50, you can reach out to them for that pricing. Now, if I pull up Windsurf and that same website that we were looking at before,
I'm just curious as well. So what is the advantage of it being agentic?
So the advantage of it being agentic is you're going to be able to give those more complicated prompts, and it's not going to get lost in the sauce in the same way that Bolt or Cursor sometimes does. Because if you've ever used Cursor, sometimes you might ask it to do something, and it might forget one piece of it, or its execution might not be something that actually works. Whereas with the agentic framework, what you can do is have a front-end expert. You can have a back-end expert. They actually call it Cascade. And what Cascade does is basically it works behind the scenes to turn whatever prompt you give it into actual code. So you're going to be able to create more complicated queries and still get successful code.
Interesting. So is this like benchmarked at all? Like is it proven that it works better than Cursor, or?
That's a great question. Yeah, so, okay, I think that this is a really good summary. So Windsurf is the best and most reliable for editing multiple files. It knows the context better because of that agentic framework. And Cursor is just the best for auto-completion as well as any simple prompts. So going back to this website that we made red and blue using Cursor, now I'm going to say, can you please make this site green and purple? And it's a very similar workflow to Cursor, where you're going to make your prompt, and then it's going to tell you what files it's editing. It's going to tell you how many lines were actually changed. And this can be super helpful because sometimes what Cursor will do is it will randomly make changes to your code, and you won't really notice it until way later. And then you have to come back and make those changes. So being able to just change it in here is really powerful. So in terms of rankings, I'm going to give Windsurf a S tier. I think that it's the best AI coding tool on the market right now. especially when you start talking about projects that have multiple files, which are going to be 99.9% of projects, right? I think Windsurf does a really good job of keeping track of everything. The fact that the pro tier is $15 a month, so you can save that $5 versus pretty much all the other tools are going to be at $20 a month. That's something that can add up over the year. Maybe you can have access to more tools. And then the UI, I think, is also super clean.
Yeah, so the next one we're going to go over is something called V0, and it's actually one I use a lot. It's built by the Vercel team. So I think just what they do currently, it seems to be mostly front end, but I think I saw a post where they're going to be getting a little bit more into back end. Build me a blog automation tool. And even though this isn't functional, this will build like a really good UI. And even though I haven't spelled it right, it'll do it well.
That's one of the fun things about LLMs. They just know what you mean, as opposed to actually coding, where the computer does exactly what you tell it to. And
you don't want to see my chats to ChatGPT. I just
I thought of a fun challenge today where I put in my favorite song in ChatGPT and I asked ChatGPT to improve the lyrics. And I think that really reveals some of the weaknesses around ChatGPT.
What's your favorite song though?
It was actually the Kendrick Lamar song, Turn the TV Off.
Interesting. Very interesting. I was curious about how ChatGPT.
Yeah, maybe we can do a video on that in the future.
This is different to what I'm used to.
Maybe it's just discombobulated because of your request.
Yeah, like no one wants to build it.
LLMs are protesting against you.
I'll build it and I'll show them. What's cool about V0 is you can import from Figma.
I didn't even know you could import from Figma. That's a real game changer.
To be fair, it's pretty good at stuff like that. Okay, yeah. So it just seemed like, honestly, I feel like Bolt actually did a better to-do list. Actually, like seeing this now, I was gonna put V0 pretty high, but this doesn't look very good. But yeah.
I've used it before. It's also interesting. You know how when you entered in your prompt on Bolt, it changed it to say make a beautiful to-do list? I don't think that V0 did that, right?
Interesting. Maybe let me see if I actually say make a beautiful and it looks better.
Yeah, so I think that that's one of the advantages of Bolt is that even if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, it's going to kind of fine-tune your prompt to give you a better product, right? You shouldn't have to tell it that you want a beautiful to-do list. Obviously, if you're building a site, you prefer that it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing as V0. Like V0 is user-friendly, it's easy to type things in, but it kind of seems like you need to know what you want, where Bolt's kind of like that all-in-one tool.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it seems like they've got a free tier, like all of them, then a $20 per month, then a $30. So it's not really that expensive because realistically, if you're using it's not going to be the same as using Cursor where you need to do a lot of changes. I think usually you use V0 once to build the front end, then maybe use it again to build a page after. Yeah, to be fair, this has let me down a little bit.
Yeah, so what's your ranking going to be?
I was coming into this with S, but then I saw Bolt. And then I saw all these errors. I think it's going to come down to B because it kind of looks like as well, these other things can build better UI. So unless this starts integrating backend, I don't know why I'd need to use V0.
Yeah, I think that will be one of the benefits because so many people have their projects already deployed on Vercel. And just that vendor lock-in, that vendor stickiness, loving the Next.js community is going to lead them to just stick with V0 because if you're already deploying your projects on Vercel, why go through the step of building it on Bolt and then deploying it on Vercel through Bolt? You know what I mean? Most people are just going to stick with whatever they already have. Yeah.
Well, I guess as a final conclusion, if you're just looking to sort of learn to code at a basic level, the sort of same way that I think I'm doing, I would go with the V0 and then Cursor or Windsurf stack. So I think that kind of gives you space to be like, okay, it's not fully doing it for you, but you're sort of understanding it. If you just want to build something really fast and just sort of show a quick prototype, I think V0 can do that pretty well. So like a lot of the things you do in V0 are sort of, you can type things in, it shows different web pages, but seeing Bolt, actually, if you want to build something really fast, that works. Kind of seems like Bolt could be the way to go.
Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and say Cursor is a great AI coding tool, but I put it in the D tier because I think that using it can become sort of a crutch. where when it's taken away from you, you don't really know what to do, or when you need to do something that Cursor can't do, you don't know what to do. In terms of Windsurf, which I put in the S tier, I think it's the best AI coding tool on the market, no matter what you're trying to do. Once again, I'll highlight the $15 a month price, which is the cheapest of all of them. And also the fact that when you're editing multiple files, it's going to handle it better than anything else. In terms of the online ones, I think Bolt clears V0 because I think that the user interface is a little nicer. But the benefit, once again, of V0 is it's already in the Vercel and Next.js framework. So if you're working with Vercel already, then you might as well just stick with V0.
To be fair, after seeing how V0 turned out, I don't know if I could put Bolt under V0. I feel like they kind of have to be on the same tier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's it from me. I think thanks for everything.
Thank you. All right, Roman. See you next time.
See you. Bye.